It's a hey Rube, brother, give me the key. Teller, give me the goddamn key.
It's an in-your-face, almost punk, aggressive sense of humor and sense of the dark.
It's almost the precise opposite of what we know as the traditional magic act.
And now, Bravo profiles Penn and Teller.
Go on at 9 o'clock. It's now 8:35 right there. So we'll have our prayer circle where Teller and I join hands.
They're different people. I don't think they've ever pretended to be anything but different people. Penn talks a lot.
This is kind of like some guys do Zen and clear their throat and stuff. I just shave an electric razor.
Teller doesn't talk at all.
It's the big guy, little guy. You got one guy who won't shut up.
Yeah, you better back up.
Who's huge and has a tremendous mouth and head.
So, you say man came from monkey.
And you have another guy who's small and says nothing.
If I were to tell someone who'd never seen them what they were like, it might be difficult. Each of them has a striking personality, but it's like Hepburn and Tracy, it certainly works.
Hello, Las Vegas! We are Penn and Teller!
They're about as different in style as they are in their appearance, but they've been working side by side for more than 25 years. Together, they put on a magic show for people who hate magic shows.
They don't like the guys in the tuxedos and the prom shirts and the bird loops that are hanging out of their sleeves. It's ugly to them.
And as you know, it's time for a card trick.
It's the reason that when they started going to Vegas, they could only make $50 a show because everybody went, magic?
1, 2, 3!
Since 1975, Penn Jillette and his partner Teller, that's his full name, have made a living out of making us realize that things are not always as they appear.
You think you're seeing something that you're really not seeing, and then you get fooled and you're shocked at how you get fooled. And it makes you laugh.
From self-mutilation to twisted pranks, to mind-bending illusions, Penn and Teller have discovered a way to both amuse and amaze us that's original, irreverent, and almost impossible to describe.
They're entertainers, intellectual stimulators, doing something up there that's riveting, and the magic seems almost to be beside the point.
And I shall be reading Casey at the Bat for you this evening in exactly 2 minutes and 16 seconds.
Much of what makes Penn and Teller's act so popular with their fans is its bizarre mix of drama and dark humor, delivered by two guys who are highly skilled at what they do. But like any good magic trick, there's more going on than meets the eye. Penn and Teller insist their show is about ideas, about skepticism, atheism, and telling the truth by lying. It's about their ability to fool us, even after we've been told we're being fooled. It's about trust and friendship and the relationship between two very different individuals. And it's about their shared belief that the real fascination of magic is not in how the tricks are done, but rather, why?
I've tried a lot of ways to say what the overall theme of the show is, and I think that they all center around how one ascertains truth.
Do you believe in Teller? Do you believe in Teller? Yeah! Then you get some epistles to write, young man. Take that with you.
There's an obsession with freedom and the difference between fantasy and reality, and an obsession with how we find what's true and how important truth is that goes through everything we do.
Say the word magic, and for a lot of people, this is what they imagine. It's a stereotype that's lasted for more than a century, and one that Penn and Teller set out to destroy.
It's almost the precise opposite of what we know as the traditional magic act, which is done with great majesty, almost as if you're just awing the audience. They couldn't possibly understand what you're doing, and almost as if it's magic. And Penn and Teller come out and say, this is not magic. This is just a bunch of tricks. And furthermore, they're not that important.
Their contempt for magicians who claim to have magical powers has earned them the title the Bad Boys of Magic and a reputation for exposing some of the profession's most time-honored secrets.
But I think any magician in the world would agree with me in a second that you never, ever do the cups and balls with clear plastic cups.
They did the cup and ball routine with clear plastic cups. And at first I went, oh, this is wrong. This is just wrong. You know, they're showing you how to do it.
We take the first ball, pretend to place it in our hand, having already snuck it underneath the first cup. We take the second ball, simultaneously secreting it beneath the cup, pretend to place it in our hand, and show it.
And then I watched it, and I actually taped it, and I played it back, and I went, they're not showing you how to do it.
And reveal it.
You couldn't do it, even if you did it frame by frame. You couldn't do it the way they were doing it. They're showing you the beauty behind it, but they're not showing you how to do it.
With these three balls that come over here, and this is not juggling, what this is called is misdirection. For looking over here, Teller seeks the final ball under. There's one more on either side, and of course, the russet potato for our finish. That's the cups and balls.
Penn and Teller's attempts to demystify magic led some of their colleagues to criticize them for breaking the magician's code of secrecy. But others saw through the duo's deception.
Magicians were getting really bent out of shape without ever seeing what they did. They just heard the hype, the bad boys of magic. They were exposing magic. In fact, they invented their own tricks to expose, and most of them are kind of fun to watch. If you've ever seen them do that box expose where they cut up Teller in pieces and move them all over the stage, when you see it, it's hysterical, and it doesn't hurt anything in magic, you know.
Okay, so I'd like you to actually take the deck yourself. Would you do that? We would do a show where I would show how you palm a card off the top. I would demonstrate it to the entire audience. And 4 bits later, I used that exact move. I mean, there's the whole argument. Magicians would say he's giving away the tricks. If he can do the trick, you know, 10 minutes later, 4 bits later, with the same move exactly and not get caught, how much have you really given away?
You see, these guys are saying it isn't really a secret. I mean, it's just skill. I mean, it's the same as learning to juggle, and you learn how to do it, and then you do it.
Few topics are off limits in a Penn and Teller show. Not only are they not afraid to speak their mind, they insist on it, even at the risk of offending their audience.
So we're moving out of the field of magic into the field of religion. It's a lateral move that utilizes many of the same skills.
I remember thinking that too. My God, he is at least going to offend a fourth of the audience. And how nice, he doesn't care.
They believe in messages, and they believe they should be giving a statement other than just doing a trick because they have the opportunity to.
It's one of the things we're supposed to do in the show, you know. We're supposed to show you miracles that, like all miracles, are totally fake. I mean, we're saying stuff. You can come out of our show and argue with us. I don't know how many other shows have that. You come out and go, you know, I don't think that's true. I mean, what do you mean that it's okay for people to have guns? And how can you say that freedom means freedom to burn the flag? And what do you mean taking the Lord's name in vain? And I think that's nothing but good.
Respecting the intelligence of the audience is one of the most important ways Penn and Teller try to distance themselves from other magicians. In one of their now classic bits, they mock the whole idea of death-defying illusions by staging one of their own.
And he has sworn on his honor as a gentleman that he will not relinquish this key to these supremely skilled hands find the card selected by Chris.
There have been magicians before who do stuff that's dangerous. If they go into the water tank, they try and sell you on the drama of the water tank. And frankly, in the year 2000, we know there is no drama in the water tank.
Is that your card? Tell me the truth, Chris. Is that your card?
What these guys do is they go, well, there's no drama. But we're going to make it seem incredibly real.
That's really not your card?
And morbidly funny.
Teller, I'm not going to find the card, man. Give me the key. It's a hey, Rube, brother. Give me the key. Teller, give me the goddamn key. What? Okay, he's right. We made a promise. We're going to stick to it.
So you do have this underlying sense of drama.
What are we at?
636.
636, yeah, screw it, Chris. He's brain dead.
You also have an act that is incredibly funny, but it's not the pandering funny. It's an in-your-face, almost punk, aggressive sense of humor and sense of the dark.
But finally, a man's come along who's willing to die for a principle he believed in, albeit an insignificant card trick. The big thing on the water tank was leaving Teller dead. The idea of taking really unimportant things and elevating them to life and death, or a better way to say that, I think, is to ignore the life and death. I mean, the more you hammer away that we're just doing a card trick, the funnier it is that Teller's drowning.
I mean, that's, to me, sort of sums up the attitude where he's saying to the audience, this is really scary, but look, it's just a cheap card trick.
Ladies and gentlemen, my ex-partner, Teller. And is that your card, Chris? Six of spades. Is your card right there?
And it's sort of an anti-magic idea of magic. The key to their success is that they do something nobody else does. I mean, there are other people who have their attitude but can't do the tricks, and there are some people, I suppose, who can do the tricks but don't have the attitude. What they've done, I think, is establish an act where the combination of humor and terror and something that's truly skillful is put all together in one package and seems to be unique.
And when we return...
We didn't know any better. We thought every kid did this. But they don't, apparently.
I guarantee that you're about to see what easily qualifies as the weirdest magic act we've ever had on the show.
Before they were Penn and Teller, they were known as the Asparagus Valley Cultural Society, a three-man group that included a young musicologist named Weir Chrissimer. The act was considered a little raw, but between the cheap laughs and the ridiculous routines, there was no mistaking the satirical tone that would eventually become Penn and Teller's trademark.
They were just kind of different. They had an edge to them, and they did things kind of, you might say, backwards.
There are people who were, even as teenagers, very good at something. In Teller's case, it was magic, and in Penn's case, it was juggling.
Juggling played an important role in Penn Jillette's formative years. The son of a former prison guard and a mother who loved practical jokes, he would spend hours a day in his Greenfield, Massachusetts home practicing on his own.
I love juggling, and still my closest friends will talk about this certain kind of calm and kind of understanding of the world that comes to me when I juggle. I mean, there's just something about it. It's what I really love to do.
In high school, the 6'6" Penn became known for being loud and over the top, but his outrageousness appeared to mask rather traditional values.
He seems like the kind of guy who would be doing lots of drugs or, you know, drinking or something, and that kind of personality. And of course, he was completely the opposite.
I've never had a sip of alcohol or any drug in my life, but I had the hair and I had the sunglasses and I had the contempt, and that was enough.
In 1974, Penn enrolled in clown college, but he soon discovered he wasn't very good at physical comedy. He turned to street performing instead and found it both satisfying and profitable.
I was so successful in passing the hat that I remember going to an accountant and saying, how do I declare this to pay taxes on this? And he said, if you go and say you made this much money street performing, you'll be busted as a drug dealer instantly. I mean, there's no way you can do this. Just keep it.
Teller's interest in magic got its start when he was 5. The only child of 2 artists, he spent much of his early childhood in Center City, Philadelphia, alone in his room, perfecting his magic skills.
He had a heart condition as a child, and he was in bed. And we took the television set up there, and Howdy Doody came on, and he saw magic on there. So I thought, well, that's wonderful. That'll occupy him. He's not allowed out of bed. So we sent for a magic set.
By the time he was 12, the quiet, shy young man was performing magic for kids in the neighborhood.
Now, this is a child doing this, you know. And we didn't know any better. We thought every kid did this. But they don't, apparently. Some people are scientists, you know. They do magic.
He used to drive us crazy, I'll tell you that. they'd take these handkerchiefs, you know, the magic handkerchiefs, and go like this all the time right in front of her face, enough to drive you bats. Then he got a whole magician's cape and everything, a red cape and a hat and all that stuff. And he thought he was a real magician when he was a little kid.
After graduating from Amherst College in 1969, Teller went on to teach Latin for 6 years, although he continued to perform magic on the side. That's when he was introduced to Penn, who was so impressed by his talent and ideas that he encouraged Teller to abandon his career and perform with him.
And I said, you know, let's go do this show. And he said, well, okay, we'll do it over the summer, and then I'll be back in September. And I said, well, no, I was thinking for real. And it was something rather slightly dramatic for that time, like saying, you know, I thought you were a performer and not a teacher, and hanging up the phone, and him calling back a while later. And he never did quit teaching to work with me. He took a 1-year leave of absence. And I don't know, I guess at some point you told them that you weren't coming back, but the last I heard, it was a 1-year leave of absence.
By the end of 1975, Penn Teller and their mutual friend, Weir Crissamer, had created the Asparagus Valley Cultural Society, an odd combination of magic, juggling, and music that showcased their respective talents. The show played off and on for almost 6 years, first in Philadelphia, then San Francisco, before the three of them decided to quit.
Weir was very happy in coming in and doing the show 8 times a week and going home and having a life and, you know, being comfortable with that. And Penn and Teller wanted to do something different. They wanted to try other things. They had, you know, other ideas.
Penn and Teller chose to stick together and were eventually invited to take their two-man show to New York. But the decision was not made easily.
I would have heated, long telephone conversations with them discussing the details of the contract.
We wouldn't unload the truck. That was a huge thing we had there.
They were fiercely protective of their own work.
We would not perform if there were fewer than 8 people in the audience, no matter what.
They were also concerned about their deal and about money.
The contract for failure was stunning. It was perfect. It was so well negotiated you couldn't believe it. It did not ever consider success.
Beyond anyone's expectations, the show became an off-Broadway smash, and Penn and Teller were to become household names.
First, I'd like to say that my partner Teller is the best card magician in the world.
They began appearing regularly on shows such as Saturday Night Live, where on one occasion they seemed to defy the laws of gravity.
And that is, ladies and gentlemen, the rising card. Go ahead, Dylan. Oh,
we went out there completely unprepared. We couldn't do really any of the tricks. The muffin throw was hitting half the time. We didn't really have a script because we kept changing the tricks.
Still edible.
And we went out there and just mostly were winging it and just got incredibly lucky.
Watch what she can do right here. Still with the same rainbow patterns. She floats right in the air. Watch this last thing with a hook, no threads, no wires.
It wasn't until the end of the bit that television viewers were let in on the secret the studio audience already knew. Penn and Teller had been performing upside down.
It was a very, very strong idea, but I am so convinced that if I had that idea alone and didn't have Teller, no one would have gotten the idea. It took Teller, I mean, I had to explain it to Teller 2 or 3 times before he got it, and there was no way I would have ever been able to present that to an audience. Isn't that the way you remember it? Not really, you know, but,
You believe in magic.
The guys tried to top themselves in this legendary appearance on David Letterman's show when they auditioned a new number, but kept the best part for last.
What'd you think of the style? Teller's got a pencil here.
Well, you know, I don't know that much about the style of magicians, but I just, you know, the word lame comes to mind.
Well, it was all Letterman's idea. Letterman said, you know, hey, come in and hit me as hard as you can, be as mean as you can.
But, you know, I guess the thing that I missed most out of the whole deal was it just didn't seem to be an element of real surprise.
You want some surprise out of us, David?
that'd be all
Okay, Teller, show him some surprise, would you please?
Letterman was really freaky.
I'd like to point out that no, come on now, these animals are not being hurt.
None of that was faked. He was really freaked, and he was really upset. And I went over to shake his hand at the end, and he swore at me and just turned, and it looked like he was going to hit me, and we thought it was terrible.
No, that's it.
And then the next day, somebody from his office called and said that he thought it was the best bit that had ever been done in his show. We were welcome back anytime.
He just wanted to give you a little surprise.
By 1985, Penn and Teller believed they had achieved the ultimate success. They loved what they were doing and felt they were doing it without making compromises.
They wanted to have financial success like everybody wants to have, but I think they really wanted artistic success first, and financial success probably would come along with it, which it did. So it was never sitting down and saying, I have to make this, I have to make that. It was really, do we have the ability to do what we want to do when we go into that theater? If we do, we're going.
A lot of our style can be traced right back to the fact that our very partnership is built on ideas and not even dreams of success or wealth. Neither one of us ever wanted to be on Broadway. It was all these ideas, and we considered ourselves successful when we did these ideas and people paid us enough to make our living.
And when we return...
But you can just open this, and if you want to answer the door quickly, you can step off into space, and down you go.
Sponsored in part by Las Vegas Conventions and Visitors Authority.
Well, we moved to Las Vegas, Nevada about 5 years ago. Teller kept saying that the place you are when you turn 50 is the place you're going to die. You want to be someplace warm. So our choices were pretty much, for show business, L.A. or Vegas. And in L.A., you know, for the money we make, we could live like in a regular house. But here in Vegas, because, I mean, the land is like free and building is really cheap, we can live like rich guys.
Penn's fairly easy to describe, which is that if you took a very smart teenager and gave him a lot of disposable incomes and pretty much freedom during the day, that would be Penn.
From one angle, Penn's self-designed home in Las Vegas looks surprisingly ordinary. Look a little closer, though, and it reflects a personality that may surprise or even shock you.
I call the house the Slammer because you saw from the outside it looks kind of like a prison. But once you get inside here, it's kind of paradise. The whole idea behind the house was there's no fancy materials. It's all concrete, linoleum, formica, real American things. None of that cedar or tile anywhere.
Penn is an extremist.
That's a big goddamn teapot!
Everything he does is bigger than life.
It's such a big teapot, you have to yell about it!
He's sort of halfway in character and halfway not.
This is a picture of Chairman Mao. And if you go carrying teapots of Chairman Mao, you ain't gonna make it with anyone anyhow.
Penn has a very dark side.
This is one thing you want to see, because this is so illegal.
Very much involved with the devil and death.
This is my tattoo, and it's on someone else's skin. This is something else that's illegal. This is all pretty much illegal video stuff. This is probably illegal, too.
Penn really is a no bullshit kind of guy.
This is an artist in Chicago did this. It's the Holy Bible cut into the shape of a gun.
If he thinks it, he'll tell you what he thinks.
Because, you know, if you're really going to talk about what violence has actually been caused by what literature, boom, bang.
And he just puts it out there, and he lives large.
This is the guest house. See, I'm from New York, and I wanted to have friends around, and I was afraid that I wouldn't make enough friends in Vegas, so I made this beautiful guest house, which is called the Warden's House of the Slammer, which is where my friends can come and stay for weeks. Every time I go on a talk show, I steal the cup. This is Jay Leno's Tonight Show guest 2. I have a guest 1 and a guest 3 as well, because we've been up and down. This is Conan O'Brien. Everyone has one of these. This one is my special psychotic Mormon collection. I'm hoping to get one of Adolf Hitler, then I'll have a complete set. This is my mom, my dad, my sister. My sister, as you can see, is paid to wear a Penn and Teller t-shirt. This is when they visited me and stayed out here for a little while. Now you'll see that the art all around here is all Tony Fitzpatrick. Tony is a buddy of mine. He is the greatest artist alive. That's not my opinion, that's fact. And then we have Tony's original artwork on the wall here. These are the ones he did in prison. They're the serial killer slate series that first got me interested in Tony. This was done by a sculptor by the name of Jose Alvarez, the atheist Buddha of Vegas. These are bottles that I would have juggled in the Penn and Teller show, broken bottles. This is the Smokin' Monkey Lounge. This is kind of just a make-out place. These are pickled punks. These are fetuses, deformed fetuses in jars. And this is the booth they would have worked in, these showbiz guys. Thalidomide, the day a woman's world stood still. They didn't ask to be born. They didn't ask to be born. This is a real package from Saudi Arabia, S&Ms. I bought a lot of packs of these, let me tell you that. There's just all sorts of, it's quite an elaborate library on skepticism, atheism, rock and roll. There are secret rooms all over. Some of them I'll show you, some of them I won't. This is a real simple one. This is a trapdoor that goes into all the computer rooms. Liza Minnelli's panties, behind you. We had the same dressing room at Bally's Hotel and Casino, and she left her panties in my dressing room, and I thought, well, gotta put those up somewhere. This is my upright bass guitar. I've been playing electric bass for about 25 years, but I've just started on this bad boy. Look at this thing, man. Oh, the best band there ever was, Velvet Underground, okay? This is unpeeled banana cover by Warhol with the picture of Lou on the back, full thing, and it's sealed. It is sealed. You know something? Lou doesn't have one of these. You see a beautiful view of the mountains, high walls and stuff. Those are real fruit trees. Those are very dangerous cacti. If you want to talk about violating Las Vegas building code, well, there's a lot of stuff here that does. It's a dangerous place. But you can just open this, and if you want to answer the door quickly, you can step off into space, and down you go. This is my office. Guests are not welcome to my office. This is where I spend most of my time. As you can see, a big old computer monitor. That's where I get my email. Picture of a smoking monkey. Nothing funnier than a smoking monkey. Picture of me with various women naked. This is great. This is my mom and dad. Now, this was taken in the 70s in the backyard of my house in California. I was very, very close to my mom and dad. My mom and I were, as far as I know, the two closest people that have ever lived. I loved her dearly. Don't insult me by asking me if this is a real skeleton. Of course it's a real skeleton. And the great thing is when you buy skeletons, you call up a medical supply house, and it's like they counsel you like you're getting an abortion. They say, do you understand that this is a real skeleton that you'll be having in your home, and some of your friends will maybe be uncomfortable with that? And I said, they're my friends, f*** them. Here I have in my office a urinal and a sink. I don't know why you need both. My mom would be so mad at me for doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's just so, it's so cute. This is my mom, me, my mom, and a monkey. My mom came to our show, and we got a monkey, and she's making the monkey face. And man, boy, I miss my mom so much every second. Because I called her at least 2 or 3 times every day. This is one of my most prized possessions. This is the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary. You usually see the ones that are microscopic, but this one you can actually look up something, and you can really understand the English language. It's considered to be the best dictionary done in any language ever. Now see, this is my bedroom. This is where I live. Most of the windows in the house are hidden behind pictures. So you can glance out like that. It's all leopard skin because, boy, you know, women dig that. This is kind of a sex dungeon, and this is supposed to be covered with a mirror, but it's not really done yet. And this has all sorts of equipment in here for sexual purposes, and nice walls, and soundproof. And this is a sex swing that you can ride in and have sex. And this is one of the creepiest things you'll ever see. This is an electric chair. It's a real electric chair from Sing Sing in the 20s. I want to make it very clear I'm very against capital punishment, but at least you know now that this electric chair won't kill anyone else now, will it? This is my my home theater, which has a whole remote control thing, and it's a beautiful big, like you really watch a movie in here. This is all acoustic with a vaulted ceiling. You notice the sound is perfect, flat. And then perhaps the coolest thing, I can run this from anywhere, but if I just hit this button here, the screen goes up, and you have my band set up. There's guitars on the wall, there's a drum set, keyboard, mics, mic stand, music, and the PA is right here and goes into the room, and that's my house. That's the Slammer. Now, you run along.
And when we return,
Teller learned that he could control a crowd and command their attention by completely being silent.
Every day on Bravo.
The most intricate part of magic and the background that you have to have in magic is sleight of hand. Teller's a marvelous sleight of hand performer, and he's a minimalist. You know, all great sleight of hand performers are. You don't see anything. It should look like real magic, and he's that type of magician.
perhaps the single most distinguishing characteristic of Penn and Teller's act is Teller's silence, a trait he first adopted when he was performing on his own.
Teller learned that he could control a crowd and command their attention by completely being silent, because you can't heckle a person who won't answer back.
When he tells the story, it's always, I shut up and do these macabre things, and people shut up and paid attention. I think they were still screaming at him, but there's a different memory there.
Whether or not it kept hecklers at bay, Teller's decision to remain silent, as well as his decision to drop his first name, added mystery to his presentation.
It does have its effect, and you do wonder, if not can he talk, why has he chosen not to talk, which is almost as interesting.
In a trick that seems to define his personal style as a magician, Teller silently swallows 100 sewing needles, 6 feet of thread, and makes them reappear.
I saw Teller do the needles, and I thought it was the greatest trick I'd ever seen, because it was this geeked out, disgusting carny trick that dealt with vomit, and yet he did it really classy. He did it so classy that you could do it at Carnegie Hall and get away with it.
The trick is based on an ancient East Indian illusion made famous by Houdini, but Teller has found a way to make it his own.
Teller does it brilliantly. When he swallows the final needle and sort of gets it down, a look comes over his face of sort of blissful completion that makes me laugh every time he does it, and I've seen it a lot of times.
He is an enormously skilled magician, an enormously creative magician, even though he doesn't do things with great flourishes.
Another trick that bears Teller's signature is called shadows. It's a trick unlike any you're likely to see, and was developed by him when he was still a teenager.
He was sitting in his room in candlelight. He was a rather melodramatic teenager, and he had some blocks from his childhood, and they were casting a shadow on the wall, and he pushed the blocks and you could see the shadow move, and then it said, what a great effect.
Shadows is probably the best bit in our show. It's a perfect example of a trick that you have the image you want. And the image doesn't have to be a rose falling apart from the shadow, but something falling apart, the shadow being more important than that.
The first time I saw Teller do the shadow illusion, I actually cried. There are moments when magic is so poetic that it just catches me.
Nobody knows how it's done, and no one will figure it out, but that doesn't matter. You could do it a much, much simpler way, and the idea is so great and so powerful and so interesting that people would fool themselves just to make that image be real to them.
The notion of envisioning that illusion and carrying it out so beautifully, so delicately and small and simple. You know, I've seen it at least a dozen times live, and it always gets me.
It was beautiful. It was a magnificent simplistic-looking piece, that suddenly something happened that you didn't expect. And it was also kind of gory, and that aspect of it was also beautiful.
When he's not performing, Teller takes refuge in his self-styled home, a virtual playground of sorts that reflects his passion for art, his fascination with magic's past, and, as you're about to see, his whimsical sense of humor. And when we return,
I probably do a little more to make it funny, and Teller probably does a little more to make it amazing.
Call now to book your vacation at Disney's California Adventure.
Houdini, you helped us see bumps in the night, our trickery.
if Penn and Teller's act is a reflection of their unique personalities, then it also reflects their artistic influences. For Penn, it was the comic boldness of Lenny Bruce and the musical message of Bob Dylan. Teller was intrigued by the writings of Edgar Allan Poe, the intellect of Houdini, and the dramatic vision of Alfred Hitchcock. But of all the individuals who have shaped Penn and Teller's career, none is more important to them than James Randi, a fellow magician and professional skeptic who has devoted his life to uncovering frauds and faith healers.
An amazing Randi, James Randi, is not just an artistic influence, but is a blueprint for how to be Penn and Teller. I mean, he created us. You know, we met him when we were very, very young and just starting out. And the idea that we had that you could use trickery to talk about the truth is Randi's.
This is the place where Penn and Teller's ideas become reality. It's a warehouse of sorts, filled with various parts from their past tricks, and the tools and supplies to build new ones.
One of the things we try to do is to start with an idea, and then we push it and shove it and make it work, you know. And then this, every time up.
Today, the guys are working on the mechanics of an illusion that will involve burning the American flag.
Can you tell us how to do this?
Hold the triangle starting at the striped end.
Teller and I certainly need each other to be successful doing what we do. We have developed this thing that neither one of us can do alone at all. We fold the flag ceremoniously, right? And I talk a little bit about the Constitution and the ability for free speech and to burn the flag. I probably do a little more to make it funny, and Teller probably does a little more to make it amazing. That's just as good, but it also discolors it just as much.
Penn obviously doing more of the patter, would write the words. Teller was much more the, let's work on the staging, let's work on the presentation, and they would rehearse it to death and absolutely get it so that they could do it exactly the same way every time, but that it would look like they were doing it for the first time.
What would happen if you were to burn a flag, or symbolically burn a flag, not in disgust, not in protest of anything, but rather in celebration of the very freedoms that flag symbolizes?
If you really listen to Penn, he has a lot to say. And it's often a message, Dylan's message, or a political message, or a social message, or an outrageous message that's really trying to get you to move more to the center and how you're thinking.
No matter what happens to the flag, in some sense, it's always protected by the Bill of Rights. And that means we can do anything. The Supreme Court says anything. We can take a piece of chemically treated tissue paper as tinder. We can take a very eccentric magic wand, and we can do this. And the Supreme Court says it's okay. Because even though the flag is gone, the Bill of Rights remains. There are people that come to our show that are Christian and Jew and Muslim and Buddhist, and they come to our show and they like our show, which is a show done by two atheists that has blasphemy, atheism as a component. And that's because that's one of the things that happens in art, is you're trying to see someone else's point of view.
Spreading the gospel of Penn and Teller has been a mission for them ever since they took their show on the road in the early 1980s. But there were some who questioned whether their literate style and ironic tone would play well across the country.
The whole idea that New York and San Francisco and L.A. are smarter than the rest of the country is just insane. You get these Hollywood guys that can't even construct a sentence. As far as you know, have not read a book in their lives, talking about, there'll actually be this incredible rudeness, well, we got to play to those idiots in Topeka. And you kind of go, well, do you mean the idiots in Topeka who can, program a machine code, and do surgery, and fix cars, and you can do, nothing?
Over the course of their remarkable career, Penn and Teller have written a number of books together, produced a few home videos, and appeared in their own feature film, Penn and Teller Get Killed. They recently had their own television series, too, an old-fashioned variety show called Sin City Spectacular that's no longer on the air. And when they're not performing in Las Vegas, they're on the road, performing more than 100 days a year. Yet, despite their grueling schedule, they still find time for themselves. Penn works out regularly with a personal trainer and enjoys an occasional bike ride in the Las Vegas desert.
You think you look really cool, but the whole world thinks you look like a jerk.
Teller visits his parents in Philadelphia as often as possible. On this day, he convinced his father to help him with a painting.
See how fussy he is? He's so darn fussy. Everything has to be perfect. Right up to the line.
It's a still life of flowers and brains. And he's recently completed a book of his father's cartoons entitled, When I'm Dead, All This Will Be Yours. It's a portrait of his father's early work as an artist.
Thank you. How you doing?
Penn and Teller's years of success and visibility have not distanced them from the public. In perhaps their most literal attempt to break down the barrier between magicians and their audience, they end every performance by mingling with their fans.
Teller's over there with a bigger crowd around him. Everybody talks about how accessible we are, that we're online, you can write us email and you can talk to us after the show, we'll hang out, we'll go to Denny's with you if you're paying, And that's not really because there's this huge openness in our heart. It's because we've got the right level of fame. We have the level of fame where all it means is the world is a little friendlier and people are more polite. That's all it means.
All right. Thank you.
It's being this level of interesting instead of this level of interesting.
After more than 25 years of making us gasp, cringe, and question our perceptions, Penn and Teller still revel in their ability to fool us and to move us.
If I go to a show, I like to learn a vocabulary thing, I like to learn a history thing, and I like to learn, most important, something from the heart of another human being. I like there to be some communication. I believe that if you don't have that, you don't have a good show.
He was standing naked underneath a Nazi flag in the basement of his house. And I said, why do you always stand naked under a Nazi flag in the basement of your house when you negotiated with me? And he said, well, I read somewhere that when you negotiate, you have to know something that the other guy doesn't know.
And I would sit there going, there's no way the guy on the other line knows that I'm naked with a donkey hat in front of a swastika. He does not know that.
You guys know the rules. You just don't